Hello everyone, this is Women in Action Sports Network Conversation Space. I am Alba Pardo and today I have a really good treat for you. After a bit of a break through the summer and these past few months, we come back with a new season of these conversations where we talk with athletes and industry professionals all across the board to get their insight and their experience and their life story and just cover topics that we think are relevant in today's world and our lives and professional and personal lives. And today I'm super excited because I get to speak with Nikita Ducarroz. She is a Swiss-American BMX athlete who holds a bronze Olympic medal from Tokyo. And we speak not only about her sports career and all her achievements, her move to North Carolina and how that played a very significant impact on her athletic results, but also we get to dive in very important topics, big topics like anxiety, both dysfunctional anxiety and performance pressure. She tells us her story and struggles with mental health as a young teenager and how that impacted her career and the person she is today. We dive into the importance of being authentic, and especially for a public figure like her, the authenticity on all her communications, like social media, interviews, and so on. And we talk about prevention and the importance of support, but also about her project, MindTricks, and the future, what the future looks like for her, and what is she looking forward in her life as a athlete and as a woman. So we talk about a lot of important topics, and I'm really excited that you're here to join us. So let's dig in. Without further ado, please welcome Nikita Ducarroz. Hello, everyone. Well, thank you, Nikita, for being here with us today and having the time to chat with us. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Where are you today?
So I'm back in North Carolina, which is my home base for now, where I train. And I'm only here for like less than 2 weeks, and then I go right back to Europe for some more competitions.
Yeah, we'll get into that because, the first thing that comes up with you is like you're a Swiss national living in the USA. So there's a lot of questions about that. But first of all, tell us a bit about yourself. Tell us your story that's made you who you are today.
Yeah, so I discovered BMX at like 14 years old. So I guess some would consider that a bit late, but I was always just into sports and stuff growing up, and I just happened to fall on it through YouTube, super randomly, and then just kind of got hooked with that. But yeah, before that, I grew up going to school and stuff in the States. My dad is Swiss, my mom is American. And then in the summertime, we would be in Geneva with our grandparents. So I, grew up with that kind of dual culture, dual nationality. And I started playing soccer. That was kind of my main sport. And then started having developed anxiety for one reason or another. I think I've always kind of had it since I was younger, but got worse in my early teenage years, 11, 12, 13. And at that point I had stopped pretty much leaving the house, stopped going with my parents to Switzerland because I wouldn't get on a plane anymore. Had to stop playing soccer and all that. And that's ultimately what led me to find BMX, because here I was just at home watching YouTube videos and stuff and kind of wishing I was out in the world doing things with the rest of my friends. But so it was almost like a bit of a blessing in disguise. But yeah, basically just grew up with a big family and just kind of playing outside in the dirt and having fun, and then kind of just found riding, and here I am.
Yeah, and not short of achievements either on your sports career. So easier said than done. There's a lot to unpack. It might sound like a pretty straightforward story to you, but I think there's a lot to unpack there. I mean, you mentioned you come from team sports and that you already have a love for sports then, and it was then in your early teenagers that you had developed this anxiety or had developed it further. But also you were doing a dual nationality lifestyle, like spending time here, time there. How would you combine that? How would you combine the sports and being in two countries during the year before? Let's start at the beginning.
Yeah. So, I mean, at the start, up until that time when I stopped going on planes and stuff, I was playing soccer pretty seriously on a travel team and stuff. But when I would be in Switzerland, I think my parents always like organized it in a way that I wasn't missing my soccer season at home, but then I would be in like soccer camps in Switzerland. Right. So I was still playing while I was there and stuff. I had no idea about BMX at the time. I remember like a skate park at this local place in Geneva that I would always go to with my grandparents. There's like a park. So I remember always seeing the skate park, but I never like there was no idea. Yeah, nothing in my brain. And that's one of my favorite places to ride now. It's just kind of funny. But yeah, so I mean, kind of just was in camps and stuff when I was in Switzerland. And then then at the point when I wouldn't travel there anymore, then I think I was still playing soccer for a little bit up until then. But
where does that love from sports come from? Is it like a family thing that they would?
I think definitely. Yeah, I mean, I think from both my parents actually, because my dad played soccer pretty seriously and he was always on the move. Like he did a lot of mountain climbing with his dad, and then also my mom was like she was a roller skater. She grew up in a roller rink. And so definitely both my parents were athletic and I was a pretty wild kid as well. So they just had to like, I think that was like one thing for them was just to always keep me moving and stuff. Otherwise I would drive them insane.
That's awesome. That's great to have that kind of love from them to go into your lifestyle. So how many languages do you speak? Just to,
just French and English. I'm working on Spanish because I have a lot of, the Latin riders. I just had 2 Colombian twins staying with me for like 2 months. So like definitely, I think, because of French, it's always been like easier for me to understand Spanish and kind of pick it up. And a lot of Spanish speaking people in where I grew up in Northern California.
Yeah.
So I've definitely found myself, especially being in Madrid, found myself like being able to understand most of what everything what everyone was saying and stuff, which is kind of cool.
I speak Catalan, which is what we speak in Barcelona, Catalonia, and it's very close to French. So probably you can pick that up quite easily as well. So you say, I mean, everyone that I talk to, that it's been in sports has normally discovered their sport through family or friends or a boyfriend or a brother, or, like they were just drawn to it. I never heard anyone discover the sport that they won an Olympic medal in on YouTube. I mean, wait, what? You just saw a video and decided to get a bike and go out?
I mean, I did remember like we would go camping a lot when I was a kid and we had like regular bikes, I guess mountain bikes or whatever, but I never really knew it was a sport. I didn't know it was something you could do other than recreationally. So I did always like bikes and we used to make like little dirt jumps in the woods and stuff. But I think YouTube was like the first place I ever saw like competitions of it, like X Games and things like that. And I mean, I don't remember exactly how, but I think just seeing videos like that was like, all right, cool. I could actually try some of the stuff on my bike that I have, which wasn't a BMX bike at the time, but it was like, all right, I can do more than just like jumping in a straight line. And then also because I happened to discover it at the point in time where I wasn't leaving my house, it was also a way of like, I could just go out in the street right now and like learn bunny hops or like do things like that. I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to rely on anyone. I could just go by myself and like watch this video and then like try to copy it. And that's kind of just how it began.
That's awesome. Also, I mean, I have a lot of questions just by your answer there, but a massive thing that I normally get from people's stories is that, you know, I see this person and they can do it. I mean, BMX is not really, there's not many girls in it. I mean, there is more now. And of course, you know, the sport's growing on that. But traditionally, and 10 years ago, 15 years ago, there wasn't many girls, especially on freestyle. So
absolutely.
I'm assuming that you were watching videos with guys. You know, that was what you were trying to copy. How did you ever think that was an impediment? Like as a girl, you know, like I can do this, or did you ever have that feeling like, oh, there's no other girls doing it, but I'm going to try anyways? Did you ever have that moment?
I didn't really have that moment because I mean, I was raised with like two brothers and also I was definitely like a tomboy and stuff. And I think a lot of this is just how my parents raised us, but I never really had that thought of like, I can't do it because I'm a girl. I definitely saw like, all right, there are no girls doing it. But to me, it was like, oh, this looks fun to do. And like, same thing at school, like it was always the boys were playing football and stuff. And that looked fun. So that's what I would go do. And it didn't really matter. So I was lucky to kind of have that kind of support and like have that mindset instilled in me from pretty much the day I was born. But definitely like I can see now looking back on how it could be different if I had more women to look up to, just by watching like now the younger generation coming in and they have us, like there's videos of us, we're riding with them. Like, so and they're progressing so much faster. Like there's 10-year-olds that are starting the sport and doing tricks I can't even do right now. So that's super cool to see. But yeah, starting out, I mean, eventually again on YouTube, I was able to see some videos of the very few females that existed at the time, and they were spread all over the world. And so that was always definitely cool to just at least have someone similar to look up to. But it's super cool to see how much has grown since then.
Yeah. Who did you look up to back then?
I remember at the time, most of the videos I would see were like Nina Buitrago, Angie Marino, Natalia Deem, who she's like my age, but she was like doing insane stuff at the time, and she finally started competing with us a couple of years ago, and that was really cool.
And with your experience now and your trajectory, and you know, obviously you know a lot more people, a lot more places, and are part of the sport, who do you look up to now?
I mean, that's kind of hard to say right now because I feel like all the women I'm competed against, I kind of look up to because they're the reason that I can progress and I can push myself more because they are pushing the limits. And in order to keep up with them, I have to push the limits as well. So, I mean, everyone right now who's competing on our circuit is someone that I can look up to kind of in the sense. And then, I mean, Corey Coffey is one who I guess you could say is like from the older generation. She was the first female to backflip, and I'm not going to say how old she is because I don't want to get it wrong, but she's definitely like, she's got 3 kids. She's got 3 daughters, and it's super awesome. Just, she still comes to competitions. She's one of my best friends. And it's just really cool to see like that the love of BMX stays with you no matter what your life, what shape your life takes, how old you get, whatever. So I definitely look up to her and just hope that I can continue riding like she has been.
Yeah, that's great. And also this kind of showcases a bit the community around BMX and how important part, despite being an individual sport that you do on your own and you're not reliable on anybody, you're progressing the sport together with the other riders around you. And this is often something I've seen you talk about, like the community, the BMX community, the friends, and so on. And yet you kind of started BMX because you were running away from something and you didn't really want to be in a community or a group sport.
Yep.
In that perspective, how could you explain that transition from, trying to or being isolated, not liking it, obviously, but and then finding a place that you belong and that you are part of this community and making it grow together?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is funny how like everything I was trying to avoid, I sort of came back to through BMX, like traveling, being around people, all that stuff. But it was BMX that allowed me to see that I could do all these things, and it was nice to be around people. And I think it was like not having the pressure of like, I have to, like for soccer, for example, I have to be here at this time for this practice with everyone else, because if I don't show up, I could impact their practice. Whereas with riding, it was like I didn't have that stress, but I could still go meet up with people. And it became a family. We were supporting each other. We were pushing each other. Even today, like one of the moments I talk about a lot, I mean, there's so many, but at the Olympics, for example, because that's like the top sports competition. And I think most people would view it as like, all right, it's really serious, like super professional. Everyone wants to win. Like, don't talk to your competitors. But there was like a moment there, the first few days of practice was a bit tense. Everyone's trying to figure out what they're going to do and everything. But there was a moment right before qualifying where we were all up on the deck, all 9 of us. And like, we realized what we had accomplished together. Like we were here, we were about to show the world what freestyle BMX was.
Yeah.
And at that point in time, it like didn't matter anymore that we were competing against each other, because it was just super special to like share that moment with each other and realize what we were about to do and what we had done to like get up to that point.
Yeah. And there were not many contests that had even a female category up until it came to the Olympics. So
no.
I mean, I just got goosebumps just by thinking about that moment. And again, it's a very, 9 people do like, and you're from all over the world, and you've grown as a family. And
yep.
But I understand that the journey is much longer than just that. And especially with your personal story that you very openly talk about, it doesn't go from this to that.
Yeah.
I want to touch on the importance of support. You've talked about your parents and your brothers in the way they've impacted you in your growing up, and not being afraid to take on something that you didn't even see someone like you was doing, but you did it anyways, because that's how they educated you. But at the same time, you were closing within yourself, and you were terrified to go out in the world. How has their support and the support of the community helped you personally throughout your journey?
I mean, that's the only reason I was able to get to this point, pretty much, because like, yes, at the end of the day, it's like, it has to come from me, but I was lucky enough to have all these people around me to like show myself that I could do it. And yeah, I mean, it started with my parents, my family, and then obviously I started talking to a psychologist, and then I've built like a team around myself now with like my coach and all that. And each of these people is like such a big piece of this puzzle that has helped me to basically get here. And it hasn't always just been like, oh, like my coach, for example, doesn't just help me with my riding. Before Olympics, I had another like relapse, I guess, of the anxiety, and I wasn't leaving my house again. And it was like, I had been good for all this time. And then all of a sudden here we were back to like 14-year-old Nikita that wouldn't go anywhere. And all of these people, it wasn't like, all right, he just helps me with riding and then that's it. It's like all these people stayed with me throughout that and did whatever they could do or whatever needed to be done to help me get back up to the point, to be ready to go to the Olympics. And I guess even more importantly, just to be ready to leave my house. So yeah, it's just having like building a team around you that will help you in those successful times, but also still stay with you when you fall back off, is super important. And I've been, lucky enough to be able to find all these people.
Yeah. But support and all these people don't come by themselves. I think asking for help is one of the hardest parts. And how do you even put yourself in that position of like, I'm going to ask for help. I need to build this.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely tough. It's easy to think about now, like when you're in a good place and it's like, oh, like,
yeah, it's
no problem.
Common natural thing to do. But when you're in that hole, it isn't.
So one thing I think it is important to build that team when you are in a good place, like have that fail safe so that when you do fall, then if you can't really ask for help, then they could already notice the signs and like step in. Obviously that's not always possible. And there was times when I didn't have this team yet. So I did have to make that initial step. And I mean, I don't know if I could say like how to do it exactly. I think it's just important to know that it's like not a sign of weakness. It's actually the opposite. Like to make that step of like, I want to get better. And so, I mean, I think we just have to, that's why I like to talk about it and make it so open, because I think the more people realize this and know this, then it will be easier to ask for help, because it won't be such a like,
it's a stigma, isn't
thing.
It? Yeah.
Yeah,
it is. I mean, we often forget, the mortals, as I talk about sometimes, that athletes are people too. And you guys are doing incredible things and pushing your bodies and your minds to the limit every single day, risking your physical integrity, but also your mental one as well. So I have suffered and I still struggle with anxiety myself. So I understand to a certain extent other people that do. And for me to have pressure, or what I imagine it feels like to be in a competition, have to represent big brands, have to be at the forefront of a country, and have to get results, and have to, ticking all these boxes and do all these commitments. For me, you put that with anxiety, and I think that's like the opposite of helpful. I think it's like a super hard thing to combine. So how do you even begin to deal with that?
I mean, I think the good thing is like those two anxieties are kind of separated. Like there is the like anxiety disorder or whatever that's kind of just like comes from other things in life or nothing at all, whatever, just like random panic attacks and stuff. And then there's like the performance anxiety and like the job anxiety. So luckily those are, for me at least, those are like two separate things. Good. And I think with the job related anxiety, it's just, it happens for sure. I get super nervous at competitions, and that's been like working with my psychologist has been a huge help with that sort of thing. And just kind of like knowing it's going to happen, and then like learning tools that I can use to manage it in those moments, because it's not necessarily going to go away. And then also just like when it gets to be too much, I just have to like remember why I started riding in the first place. Like, why did I get into riding? Why do I love bikes so much? This contest I was just in Madrid was like a perfect example of that, because it was like the competitions back in the day, like not so much stress, obviously still wanted to do well and stuff, but it was just like a bunch of riders hanging out, and that kind of like brought back that feeling of love, and like a reminder of like, all right, this is why I ride. Like now I remember why I do it. And that always helps, like in when it starts to like build and get to be too much, just to kind of bring yourself back to like the reason that you do it, and then it's okay again.
Yeah, remember, if you kind of your vision gets blurred, remember your purpose of it.
Exactly.
And that kind of helps, even if you can't see the vision you had for it.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not overnight either. Like,
no,
it could take weeks. Sometimes there's like weeks or months that you're in this dip and you don't know like what you're doing anymore, why you're riding and stuff. So it's definitely not like, oh, you go to like one contest and everything's fine again. But definitely just like remembering why you're doing it is a big part.
Yeah, I think for me right now, like I have a great love of internet, and it allows us to have these conversations. It allows us to get access to so much great stuff, but at the same time, it also, with social media being misused or kind of just focusing on more of what you looked up once and all of that stuff, it can also be rather a toxic thing.
Yeah, no, definitely.
How and for athletes as well, is such a big part of your career nowadays to be present on that, to have a presence on those platforms. How what's your approach? How do you handle it, and how do you remain authentic to who you are through those channels?
I mean, first of all, that is my goal with social media, is to remain authentic. I've always loved it so much because I started, when I was like 14 or whatever. Facebook was the thing at the time. And it still allowed me, as someone who like would not leave their house, it still allowed me to like participate in the world and kind of see what was going on. That's how I met, the local riders from my town, and then eventually went and met up with them to ride and stuff. So social media has been like always a really big help for my riding and my career and all that. And then recently I feel like I've just decided, I mean, I've always been authentic, but definitely, like you said, you show the good moments and the wins and all that stuff a lot more. And so I just really try to be like open and share those down moments as well, and just have posts where I'm really honest about what's going on. And I think I could still do an even better job of it. It's still scary to like put yourself out there and without, which I think this is also kind of part of the stigma, but without looking like you're trying to get attention or be like, oh, poor me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's just as important to share, the podiums and stuff as it is to share those moments, like those months where you are in a bad space and you're not really riding well and nothing's working out. And I've definitely appreciated that, seeing it from other athletes. Like it's happening a lot more now, which is really cool. I see a lot of like the downhill mountain bike women posting stuff. And for me, like I really look up to them a lot as well. And so for me, reading those, even though I'm, I guess, kind of at the same like elite level as them in my sport, I still look at that and I'm like, wow, like this person who I see on social media and I think, wow, they're so cool and they're so perfect. Like they're still dealing with like the same stuff that I'm dealing with. And it's just, it helps a lot to know that you're not alone. And also, I mean, it just gives me so much more respect for them.
Would be your biggest downfall, or the biggest the hardest thing you've had to kind of confront when it comes to that? Have you ever had like a criticism about it, or have you had to fight against someone or something, or even with yourself, to kind of push through that?
Yeah, I mean, luckily I haven't ever had like bad reactions to it on social media. Like it's always been a really good response.
That's awesome.
And if there have been bad things, I've never seen it. Which I know there's always going to be people that don't understand, and I can't really blame them because it's hard to understand if you haven't dealt with it yourself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess the hardest thing is just sometimes getting to that place where you can be vulnerable and are like, all right, I can send this out to the whole world, because there is that like, I don't know the word, but like there is that pressure from society, I guess, to to look and act a certain way and be perfect, basically. So just kind of forgetting that, leaving that behind, and being vulnerable is probably the hardest part.
Yeah. So is this why you started MindTricks? Talk to me about MindTricks, what it is. I guess this is the reasons why you started it, but where are you going with it?
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly the reason I started it. I was just posting things on my own page. And my friend and I thought, why don't we make another page where I can continue posting, I can recruit some other athletes to post their stories as well, and then just keep getting people to share, people to read, and just get the conversation going, like you said. And then from there, like, I never really started it with an exact plan. It was just like, let's get people talking. And now it's like, all right, Olympics are done. I've had a little bit of time. Like, I'm still preparing for competitions and stuff. So it's been a bit slow, but I think I've like recruited my mom as well to help and to kind of keep it more updated. And I guess going forward, the goal is just to do like more live conversations on there with other athletes. Keep sharing stories, just get people's stories out there and show people that it's okay to talk about it. And then we also did like this event with Red Bull, which was an internal event. So it was just with Red Bull athletes, but it was really incredible. We had this whole day with I think it was like 12 other athletes. And we just like talked about things. We went to like this little retreat. We had a dinner, but everything was focused around like getting us to talk and open up and share our struggles and kind of learn from each other. So hopefully we can take that model and like create more events like around that for more people outside of just the Red Bull athletes, and maybe combine it with bike clinics and things like that. So definitely like ideas going around, nothing in the works yet, but ultimately just keep the conversation going.
And looking to the future of you as an athlete, I mean, getting a medal in Tokyo, I guess it was a huge achievement and a very proud moment. How could you even describe that feeling of I mean, it's not only you got a medal, but it's the first time anyone gets a medal at BMX in the Olympics, right?
I don't even know if there is a way to describe it, because like, I know in that moment, like, it was just like relief kind of, and also disbelief. Like, everything we had been working up to this moment had finally just like come together. The goal was achieved. But it's kind of funny because it's like, I still see like other people who've won medals, and I'm like, wow, they're an Olympian. That's really cool. And I don't like see that of myself. I'm like, I'm just like a regular person. Like the event kind of just felt like another competition with friends and stuff. And so to think like I have this like Olympic medal is really crazy. And I still, like, people ask me this all the time, and I was like, I don't know if it will ever sink in, because I don't know. It's just, it's incredible. And just, I think ultimately it's so cool. Like, because it's the Olympics and like everyone knows about it beyond BMX, it's just opened up so many doors of like people that now know about the sport and like recognize it. Because like, even if they don't know about BMX, they know what the Olympics is. And so then you can explain it, or they watched it because it was in the Olympics.
Yeah. I mean, for all these sports, skateboarding, BMX, surf, there's been a lot of controversy about getting into the Olympics because they're lifestyle sports. They're less structure. They're all of these things that a lot of people believe don't belong in the Olympics. I mean, you obviously just said that because it opens it up to much more people than just the ones that know BMX is good. But what do you think are the tools that having a medal can give you to actually contribute to make the sport better, the society better, to help you achieve your goals? Because at the end of the day, I mean, the Olympics still a business, right? So like, but like, where do you stand on that? Like, how do you think it can help you in the sport?
I mean, I think, yeah, with all the controversy and stuff, there's definitely pros and cons, but I think the good thing is like there's room for both. Like we can have this serious thing, and then the next weekend we can go to a jam somewhere else that's like has nothing to do with the Olympics, and you're just with your friends riding bikes. So it just because like we have, you know, this one area where we have to be very serious doesn't mean that everyone has to be like that or everywhere has to be like that. So I think that's the cool part of it, because it's definitely opened up so many doors. I mean, especially on the women's side.
Yeah.
Like you've seen like the growth of the women's class is 100% because it got into the Olympics. Like it would not have happened without that, for sure. Same with the progression. But I think as far as like being able to better it because of a medal, like I think it just like the world, it's like not just the BMX industry now, like the entire world will take us. Like if I say like I'm an Olympic medalist, I think that holds some weight, and like people will take you more seriously.
Yes.
Even if they didn't really know what BMX was.
Yeah.
And so I think having that now can kind of bring a bit more of like the mainstream, the outside world in to support the sport and get more funding for things. I mean, we saw, and then like in Great Britain, because Charlotte won the gold medal, like they got all this insane funding. And just little things like that I'm seeing everywhere. And like in Switzerland, obviously Switzerland's a much smaller country, but you know, they started having national championships and stuff. And that's just, I think, the first step of like building more of a program and hopefully have like clubs or other things that can bring more athletes in. But yeah, I think just having, you know, being recognized now by the outside world is going to be a really big advantage for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, as you said, there's always pros and cons, and I think we have to take both, and nobody tells you to go to the Olympics, you know, like nobody tells you not to go. Like you can do whatever you want and get to whatever you want to be. Looking forward and looking into the future, and with all these changes that have happened into the sport and into the scene and to the female community in mountain biking, BMX, where do you see it going? And most importantly, what are your wishes for it?
I mean, I think that on the women's side, I just see so many more events coming up. Like almost, I would say 90% at this point, there's always a women's event wherever there's a men's event.
Yeah.
So already that's huge. And like, there's a full class of women at these events. It's not just like one person showing up anymore. I see like before I could count on my like one hand how many female riders there were. And now it's like, I go on Instagram and there's like every day I see someone new. There's all these 10-year-olds, 9-year-olds doing flips and 540s and like all these insane things. And so the entry level is now so much higher than it was. And I think that will only continue now. So it's like, I don't know, I just see the progression continuing to go at such a fast pace now. And these girls now that are coming in, they see like, oh, there's females that are making a living. Like we can make this a career. And yeah, I mean, I see it becoming like how men's BMX is, where they start and they have role models to look up to. They have like, they see what tricks they can do. They're doing them better than us. And they can see that they can make something out of it.
Is that scary to see that, you know, 10 years old can do better than you sometimes?
It's definitely scary. I see it and I'm just like, oh no. But it's at the same time, it's just like so cool to see, and also pushes us. It's like, all right, we gotta get on our game if we want to stay with this progression. But yeah, it's so amazing to see.
You, at the beginning of our conversation, we were talking about Corey being a mother of 3 and still, you know, showing up to events and enjoying the BMX and the community. I'm not going to ask you whether you're going to have 3 kids or not, but like, how do you see yourself in the future? Or like, how do you think you can continue? Because again, you're opening this path, right? Like there's not been many professional BMX female riders before. So this transition into out of becoming a pro athlete is quite recent, or it's not really happened yet. So how do you plan for something like that? How, as an athlete, do you plan for when you're not a pro athlete anymore? Or does it even come to, it's something I always think about, like, and then what?
I mean, I've thought about it before, but I haven't like sat down and been like, all right, I need to figure this out. I think it'll definitely be hard, but I do see myself like always riding, even if it's not at this level. I see myself staying in the sport one way or another. So it's like, I feel like even when I transition out of like competing at the elite level, I don't really ever see myself leaving. I know a lot of people like make the transition to mountain bikes, which I can definitely see myself doing that as well, just because it's just another thing that's so much fun. And I think you can like take that a little longer. So yeah, I don't know. I think there's definitely, I went to college and stuff. I prepared myself for just in case. But I think, like I said, one way or another, I'm always be around bikes in some capacity.
I think
when it's really in
you, once it's in you. For me, it's with snowboarding and the snow, like it doesn't matter, like, oh, I have a baby now, okay, I'll just take her, and you just get stronger. It gets heavier, you just get stronger. It gets steeper, you go slower. It doesn't matter. You kind of just, when you're in it, and it's great to see, that it doesn't matter, you're doing it, and you're opening and paving this path for the next generations, and you're doing it in a way that it's so brave, so open, and so vulnerable that it inspires a lot of people. And I think that's priceless.
Thank you.
Do you want to share any advice that someone has ever given you that it was so good that you think it's worth sharing? Whether it's in sport or anything else.
I can't think of like something specific someone has said to me, like a phrase or anything, but I think just like from my parents, something that I learned was just like, if there's something that you want to do, try it. Like, who cares if anybody else is already doing it, or if you're a boy or a girl, like, just if there's something that looks interesting, put yourself out there, give it a go. Maybe it works out, maybe it doesn't. But yeah, they've just always taught me like follow my passions, and like they've never made me feel like I couldn't go do something.
That's so empowering.
Super grateful for that. And also just advice just in general is like, kind of back to the mental health stuff, is just like, don't be afraid to ask for help. Because like people who are actually there for you, people that care for you, they won't, they'll be there for you and they'll help you, and they won't make you feel ashamed or anything. So definitely don't be afraid to ask.
Do you remember the first time you opened up about mental health or having an issue, or outside of your parents and your closest family? Like the first time you sat down and
the first time was, I think I was in 8th grade. So I was like 13, maybe 14. And it was actually a school project. It was an English project. So I had to write a paper, and I wrote about it, but then you had to record yourself like saying what you had written. And I ended up posting it on YouTube. And yeah, I just like talked about my anxiety and how BMX had helped me. And it was just like the amount of people. That was the first time I'd ever talked with. Well, I didn't at first I wasn't talking with anyone, but I had ever said anything. And just the response from it was like so empowering, and so many people close to me and like other riders were like, came to me and said like that they had kind of dealt with similar things and stuff. And so from that was kind of like the moment where I was like, all right, it's actually like okay to talk about this. It's helping a lot of people.
And it's more common than we realize.
Yeah.
And until
yeah,
someone
there's a lot of people. Yep.
And then you realize you're not alone, and there's battles that we're doing together, although for ourselves. So
yep, exactly.
That's a really cool story. Again, I think everything you've achieved, not only getting a super successful sports career, but doing it, battling and being an advocate for mental health and empowering other girls and other riders and other sports person and people in general is admirable. And I hope you continue to do so. I hope we can keep in touch, and that we will support you in anything we can with the network and personally, because I think it's super important and necessary. Yeah,
definitely.
And the more you talk about it, the less you think there's stigmas around it. But then you realize that the more you talk about it, the more stigmas there are, the more taboo it is. And there's only one way to do it, and just keep going. So thank you for everything you're doing, and congratulations, because I'm sure no one has said that about anything lately. Thank you so much for sitting with us.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.